Celeb Savant Barrett Edelstein. We're at Solid Gold Podcast in Johannesburg, South Africa. Joining me on today's episode is Gareth Wilson. Gareth.
That's Barrett. Thanks for having me.
It's been a while. We've seen each other at events, and you're very tall, so I always see you standing over the crowd. I'm like, oh, there's Gareth.
It's hard to get away with anything.
Okay, diving straight in. So at what age, whether as a child or teenager, did you feel cool? I want to be in this world of craziness or music or creativity, want to call it that. And how did that journey progress?
Yes, man. It started young for me. My dad was into music big time. My uncle was actually Leon Wilson. He played in a bunch of bands in the 70s and 80s. Names of the bands I can't remember now. But my dad was big into music. We grew up, he was big into like classic rock. So it was like Stones, Zeppelin, and then obviously Dylan, Springsteen, Neil Young. Grew up with that, a lot of that in the house. So I remember my first time I ever remember music and going, this is so cool, is I grew up in Maltino in the Eastern Cape, and we were coming to visit family in Joburg. And I remember driving in one of the old Mercs. You remember the back seat of the Mercs? Those old ones used to like spring like that. I loved that. And I still remember it clearly. All four kids sitting on the back seat, my folks in the front, and the springs of the seat going. And I remember hearing Traveling Wilburys, and it was that. And the walls came down all the way to hell. Yeah. And I remember hearing that, and I was thinking, music is so amazing. Yeah. I can't believe I've never felt this way about music. Because I'd obviously heard music, but that was the first time it was like, wow. And then,
how old were you?
There, I reckon I must have been 5 or 6 years old. And I still remember that. Listen, I can't remember things I did last week, but I remember that moment. And then it is like listening to and obviously hooked, and listening to whatever my dad was listening to. And the first band I discovered for myself was Guns N' Roses. And I loved Guns N' Roses. I went to an Afrikaans primary school, Maltino Law School. But it was the worst school and the law school were together. It's a tiny town. And they used to have sokkies. And I remember the one sokkie was a dress up. And I went, no, I don't actually think that one was a dress up. I think I just went dressed as Axl Rose. I remember red ski pants, Doc Martens. I was been about 12 years old. I was obsessed with Guns N' Roses. To the point my mom caught me. I'd read books about them, and they did like speedballs, these drugs and cocaine, and I was so obsessed. I didn't really know what the drug thing was about, but my mom caught me making lines of Cremora in her kitchen. And I still get teased about that to this day. And it is like, I was just so obsessed with music that like everything about it, you know, and then from there it just became, you know, obviously It was, I started listening to grunge, I was into Britpop, I was really into 90s hip-hop, still am. I still listen to any music I liked in my life, I still like. Okay. And I listen to it regularly, you know. But discovering music is my favorite thing. So I listen to all new releases. I'm a bit of a nerd like that. My release radar will come out on Spotify on a Friday, and I'll be straight into it. My Discover Weekly. Love it, you know. I'm on all the blogs. I'm always trying to find, and then I'll listen if I like something. If I don't like something, I'll move on. If I like it, I'll make a note. I'll go back to it. Yeah, so I'm just a bit of a nerd when it comes to music.
So, away from the nerdishness and Guns N' Roses, how did that develop into the first band, the second band, being professionally in the space?
Oh, being professionally in the space. I took you way back there.
No, that's fine. We like those stories.
So my brother, who was the drummer of Southern Gypsy Queen, he started playing music before I did. He was playing drums in the church. And the only band in Maltino was the church band. And he wanted to start playing drums. He learned to play drums. I really wanted to play guitar, but I didn't have a guitar, and my dad eventually hooked me up, and I wasn't good enough to play for the church for a while. It took me a little bit longer than he did. He went straight in. He was little, and they had to put like a special chair so he could reach the pedals. He was really good. And it took me a little while, and then eventually I got in, and I was like, this is cool. Regular gig, got monitors, you know, as opposed to garage band sort of vibes. And then I said to him, another friend of mine that I used to skateboard with, him and I really got into grunge. And we were like, no, this church music is all fine and well or whatever, but we want to play in a grunge band. Okay. So we started writing grunge songs. And my brother wasn't really keen to play with us at first because we were terrible. And eventually we persuaded him. Yeah. And that was the first band was called Catabolic, Breaking Down. My cousin was the bass player. No, my ex-wife's sister was the bass player.
Okay.
Tammy, who played for Southern Gypsy Queen eventually, her sister was our first bass player for Catabolic. I think she just felt too bad to say no. We then replaced her with my cousin on bass and changed the name to Bombay Duck, which is an old Shadows song, I think we saw the name. And then eventually when she went on to do other stuff, we got Tammy, who I was dating, my girlfriend, my high school girlfriend, who was a cello player. And she joined Southern Gypsy Queen. And that's kind of where we did record one song one EP with Bombay Duck. We managed to luck a deal with Peter Pilson at Downtown Studios. Never been in a studio a day in our life. We came in and he was like, so guys, how are we going to do this? We're going to record a couple of tracks live. So you've got a demo to show people, or one track properly. And we were like, I don't know, you tell us. So he's like, okay, cool. Well, let's get the click track sorted. And we're like, what's a click track? He's like, you've never been in a studio before. We're like, never. And that is Bombay Duck. Eventually became Southern Gypsy Queen. And then,
why the name Southern Gypsy Queen?
Yes, man. I wish I could remember well enough to answer this, to be honest, because it is such a long time ago. And I always think back and I think, why didn't we just keep the name Bombay Duck? I always actually preferred the name Bombay Duck going on, I remember being young, going through the grungy, Rage Against the Machine sound, and everyone was playing that. And I was like, we're young, it makes no sense, but like we've grown up on classic rock. My dad loves classic rock. I felt like there was nobody else our age doing stuff like that, especially in South Africa, no one we knew of at that point. We then later found out there was a whole bunch of people doing it, but we didn't know. And I guess we were looking for something that sounded like a classic rock band,
Okay.
And I guess, the southern side, I'm not sure if that comes from the fact that we listened to a lot of Allman Brothers or like Delta blues music, or because we were Southern African or from South Africa.
Okay.
So I would be lying to you, but I know that we were very specific. We were like, Bombay Duck doesn't sound classic rock enough. And we wanted to move our sound more that way.
Yeah, I suppose Bombay Duck sounds like, in this day and age, when I hear that word or that name, for me, I feel it's more like dance music, like a DJ name.
Yeah, I always felt it sounded too much like a pop punk band, and I was never a fan of pop punk.
Okay,
so I was like, that is my thing, and I was like, no, we want people to know, so when they hear the name, and we even spelled gypsy differently, so it would stand out. So we did gypsy with the EY at the end.
Yes,
so we're like,
right.
okay, cool, because I just, obviously the music nerd I am, all the bands I liked spelled their names differently or wrong on purpose. And I was always like, that's great.
Yeah.
Something that I also there was definitely moments in my life I regretted that because, back then festival bookings, look, we're talking early 2000s here, like, it wasn't what festivals are now, and you send through your assets and marketing and your artists approve their stuff. People would just be like, oh, these idiots have sent that obviously spelt this wrong.
And then changed it.
Yeah, so there was loads of regret in my musical life.
So that band went on for a period of time, and then you moved out of the front of stage space. In fact, I actually saw you guys perform when you were open for the Waterboys.
Oh, yes, yeah. Our last performance, actually. Yeah. So, look, that was so what happened there was obviously Southern Gypsy Queen was my first job, apart from selling slip-slops in East London in high school. I'd only ever worked, it was my first job, came out of school, got booked by Dacha Dirk Eis to play at a venue called Rock Art at the Car and Car Festival. And at that point, I don't think we knew we were going to be professional musicians. It was just we were young enough to still live at home and do these things, and it kind of just snowballed from there. And one big gig became two, and this, and then we were playing gigs in Joburg and Cape Town. Then we were playing gigs in Joburg so much that we had to move here, and then we obviously signed various record deals along the way and management deals, and we had a great actually we had a great career considering we were a South African rock and roll band that didn't play commercial rock, like old school rock and roll. And we never did other jobs. We purely did that for 10, 12 years.
Okay.
Yeah. When you saw us was obviously years after. So my brother passed away about 12 years ago. I took a complete hiatus from making music. And we got back together to play Up the Creek Festival.
Yeah.
Which was one of Southern Gypsey Queen's favorite festivals. And I think Tammy and I jumped on stage here or there with Jaco Mans from Tidal Waves was playing guitar. But we'd never done anything official yet, And our drummer, or my brother's only ever drum student, and who would roadie for Southern Gypsy Queen, who is now the drummer of Black Eyed Bones, is he said to us, guys, please, let's do this, man. I want to play drums. He always wanted it. He used to play a lot. When my brother used to sing, he would come and play. So he knew the songs better than we did at that point. And we did that show, and it became a few more shows. But by that point, it was a novelty thing.
Yeah.
And I think the show you saw us with the Waterboys was our last public appearance, So it was a nice way to go out.
Yeah.
Even though we pissed Damon off. We were supposed to play Unplugged, and then we found out our bass player Tammy was moving to New Zealand. And we realized, shit, this is probably our last show. And we're like, we're not going to make our last show an Unplugged show. So we got an extra guitarist. We got Andre from the Black Eyed Bones to come and play. So we had 3 guitars, and we went all out, shame. And they had such noise complaints. They had to cut our sound in the first song. But for us on stage, it was amazing. And it was a wonderful last show to play together.
Wait, noise complaints from?
From wherever. I don't know. Apparently we were too loud. But also, great. What a way to go.
Yeah, I mean, like, the sound is the same whichever concert you're at there. So I don't know what you're talking about. And Unplugged, what does that mean in your world for us to understand that?
In my world, the good question, because these days, I work in the music industry where playing an instrument is rare these days,
Yeah.
So a lot of people will call Unplugged just something when there are some form of live elements in a song. For us, Unplugged was always just no electric guitars. So
but still other instruments.
All other instruments.
Okay, but no electric. Oh, okay.
No electric guitars. So acoustic guitars, all the songs stripped down, rearranged, done a little differently,
So whenever they did those MTV Unplugged shows, is that the same thing? Just without without electric guitars?
There was no electric guitars, yeah. So nothing was like...
I thought Unplugged meant like... I don't know what I thought about. I just thought like more acoustic, more a cappella than just not an electric guitar.
Yeah. So it's just acoustic sort of instruments. Yeah.
Okay.
But look, a lot of people cheat Unplugged shows in these days, and I also don't mind the rules. Who cares of shit? Like, the rules have changed. So, but back when we were young, 90s teenagers, Nirvana Unplugged. Like, I think how many amazing Unplugged shows, if I look back at like Alice in Chains, Nirvana
the MTV
Unplugged, the
series,
MTV series.
I remember there's
Eric Clapton Unplugged.
And a whole bunch of them.
Yeah. No, it is insane. It is like that. So many of my favorite albums growing up were the Unplugged albums. So I actually I love playing Unplugged shows. And it's always challenging to rearrange these songs that are sometimes, like Southern Gypsy Queen, very riff-based songs, bringing them back to an unplugged state, sort of the way they were written. It's quite cathartic, actually, as a musician.
And now MTV doesn't have any music on it. It's music TV with no music, which is... Exactly. Anyway, I just had to throw that in there. Now, your hiatus for the period that after Southern Gypsy Queens... What were you doing?
So towards the end of Southern Gypsy Queen, before my brother got sick, he was doing a lot of modeling. So he was modeling, he was doing a lot of castings, he was acting, doing TV stuff, and he'd started working on a solo. I'd done one solo album, but it is very folky, acoustic, very non-mainstream. Like, it was something I did for me and sold the CDs at shows. I never took it beyond that. He was planning to do something. He was a great vocalist, and he was the best looking person in the band. It was always weird that he was playing at the back of the drum at the back. So we always said at some point he's going to have to do a solo album singing up front. And he was working with Peach van Pletzen. They actually recorded some really nice stuff, never released it. I'd still love to release that stuff, but his wife, after he passed, she didn't feel that she wanted to release it, so it was nothing to do with me. But maybe one day people will hear them. And from there, we sort of realized if, like the dreams of becoming an international overseas hit, because like I said, we never really had these massive plans of being, like you meet kids now and they're like planned from birth that they were going to be rock stars, It kind of all happened to us. We were very lucky, and like 4 kids from Altino, it's quite weird to think that we did as much as we did musically. So it is we were winning. So we kind of realized, look, this is the way we want to go. We don't want this band specifically. We kind of reached that we got to the ceiling where we were going to get, like if you look at all bands of that, like how much bigger could Taxi Violence get? How much bigger could Shadow Club get? That those were the sort of bands we were playing with. And we sort of realized either we need to change what we're doing musically, or we just need to do other things as well. And I always loved the business side of music, but I'd never really been that into it. And we'd gone through a string of different booking agents who were useless. And I went to the management company that we were with, and I said, listen, guys, I'd like to be our own booking agent, but I'm not taking us away from the company. We're still with Southern Pulse. I just want to do the bookings, and whatever the comm that guy was getting, you can give it to me. And at first they were wary. So obviously the musicians are notoriously bad at
planning
anything other than making music. So, and I was the worst. Like I got my first email address when I started doing that. It was actually, it's quite embarrassing if I think about it now. And I was sort of late 20s, I guess, maybe 28, 29 when this sort of started. And I started booking Southern Gypsey Queen. And that went really well. And I took over the management for Shadow Club, BCUC, Tidal Waves. Sure, there was a bunch. I took over quite a lot of them. And that company was owned by Oppikoppi, co-owned by Oppikoppi. And time came, and I had a great relationship with Oppikoppi. We'd always played all the events, and obviously with Southern Pulse worked quite closely with the guys. So when they needed a new talent buyer, they gave me a call, and I was like, this is amazing. A lot of people think I took that job after my brother died. Actually not true. I took that job about 3 months before he died.
Okay.
And the plan was always, Southern Gypsy Queen will go on as normal. But remember, Southern Gypsy Queen used to do between 200 and 300 shows a year. It was
my word.
Wild. It is a different time back then. There's not as many venues now as there were, or not for bands at least.
Yeah.
The scene has changed so much. So like we used to get into our bus and hit the road, and sometimes it would be 6 weeks before we came home. And we'd go into Mozambique, Botswana, Namibia, wherever, we didn't really tour internationally. We didn't get that far.
No, out of South Africa is international.
Yeah,
Let's just put that out there. Okay.
Yeah.
Stamped, it's international. There we go.
And so the plan was we were going to pull back and not do as many gigs. I was going to take this gig with Oppikoppi. My brother was focusing on his solo stuff and obviously all the modeling. And Tammy had a business running already at that point. So I was with Oppikoppi or Hilltop Live for a decade almost. So, post 2010, all the Oppikoppis were booked by me.
Okay. Okay, so when you say booked, you booked the artist to perform.
Yeah.
So for the people hearing this, or for the listener, is it as simple as, okay, reach out to PJ Powers, reach out to so-and-so and book them? Or what is the process to book an artist for a festival?
So Oppikoppi was a one-of-a-kind festival, and obviously Oppikoppi...
Because it's a weekend, eh?
It's a weekend, correct, yeah. And remember, Oppikoppi started in 94.
Oh, wow, okay.
With our freedom and everything. So it was always like... It wasn't just about music. A lot of people thought Oppikoppi changed right at the end, but right from the beginning, if you were to go into the original top bar where the main stage was, there were Madala Kunene, Vusi Mahlasela, the Soul Brothers. You know, like it from the beginning, it was a cross-cultural festival. It was just rock was obviously a massive thing.
Yeah.
Back then, so rock was the main genre for these festivals, but it was always very much a multicultural thing. So when I got the job, it might be the most fun thing I've ever done in my life, was booking the lineup with Oppikoppi. It was when the 1 year ended, I started working on the lineup 2 weeks later on the next year, and didn't finish it completely up until maybe a month before, because we like to see if something blew up or sparked or there was something exciting. So we always leave a slot or two open till right in the front. But it was by no means just phoning a band or, you know, I don't know if people put that kind of love. There's some great bookers in South Africa, but I don't know if like the kind of love we used to put into that and thought we put into that lineup is, you know, like little things. Like we would decide there'd be a band, like say we did it with Academy, was one of those acts that we felt were incredible. We did it with Bongaziwe. That at the time when they were smaller, we felt they deserved a bigger slot. They didn't have the audience, but musically they were there. We just thought, so we used to do a lot of that sort of stuff. It's like, how can we build up this band? They've got the potential. Let's give them a 9 o'clock on one of the main stages. And then we would book the other stages to direct traffic that, because you know what people are like. They're not going to go check out a lot of people never care about watching something new. They're going to go to what they know. So we would book the lineup in such a way that we would direct the traffic towards there. And then we would go to these bands and we'd say, listen, you've probably never earned more than 10,000 Rand for a gig before, but we're going to give you 50. But you need to put this into the show. We're doing this to boost what you're about, you know. And it is amazing. So many artists that we did that with pulled it off. It is incredible. It is, you know, it was we wanted a festival that represented alternative thinking South Africans of all cultures, and it wasn't a very mainstream. There was obviously, I'm not scared of the word mainstream or pop or commercial or whatever. You had your prime circles, your polytones. Every few years, one of them would, you know, like every year we try to cater for people that everyone. Also. Yeah. But it was a festival for people who didn't necessarily discover their music on radio, or, you know, like it was, and who were hungry to find new music. So yeah, it was an amazing time in my life. I loved it.
When did Oppikoppi finish or stop?
Oppikoppi, the last one we did, I think it was 2018, and then we had massive issues with, there was crime, like so much theft and crime, and like it really was as bad as everybody said it was. It was crazy. And
what, people getting stuff stolen?
Just stuff stolen, and people, you know, like in South Africa, it's quite hard to do big events and not. It's an issue, but that was like really, really, really bad. So because we took a break in 2019, I think the break was in 2019, where we just wanted to make sure, because we knew if that happened again, it would be the end of the festival. No one would want to go back. Obviously, this isn't stuff other people were doing. I booked artists. And they've managed to come up with a solution. Everything was good. And we'd booked probably about a third of the lineup for the 2020 Oppikoppi, and that never happened.
Yeah, it was a pandemic.
And then, so I guess there's different internal issues in the company, whatever. Not really my place to talk about things that are happening. And that festival will probably never happen again. If it does, I don't think it'll be the same.
Okay.
You know, not everything's meant to last forever.
Exactly.
It's sad. I loved it. You know, if it does happen again, I'm also not sure if I would want to be part of the next generation. Should maybe new people doing it, you know. Yeah. So.
Okay. Also a music nerd. from the youngest age, I was literally, you mentioned 5 years old. I was younger. I think I was 2 or 3 years old. And I couldn't fall asleep unless I had my records playing. And it wasn't kids stuff. It was ABBA, Boney M, Olivia Newton-John, all those kinds of things. And from the age of like 5 or 6 or 7, I can't remember, every Saturday, every Sunday on Radio 5, there was the American Top 40 from 10 to 2. And on the Saturday was the South African charts. And every week, obviously there was an internet there. So at that time, so every single week, I would be there with my notes, taking notes, all sorts of things. And if I couldn't be there, which was a very rare case, I made my mother tape it from beginning to end on the TDK tapes, and I sit and listen to them. And for today's times, I've got like literally the encyclopedias of the music charts from the UK charts, from the Billboard charts, so many books. So the Nerdist is there as well, if that's a word. I might have just created it. The point of this whole long thing is that the way music is consumed has changed. I still buy CDs. I know in South Africa, there's not much places to get it. So I get them from overseas because London, UK, America, they still got Tower Records. They just still got HMV. And vinyl's on the massive comeback.
Even CDs are on a comeback.
CDs in the UK last year, there's a basket of goods where they gauge exchanges on. And based on those exchanges, which has to be a high amount every day, they monitored for tax purposes. And because of the upsurge of CDs again in the UK, that product is now back in the basket. Oh. And the research is showing that it's the teenagers buying the stuff, the early 20s, not the older nostalgia people. Okay. And we've got the streaming platforms and being part of Virgin now, which we'll discuss in a moment. What are your perceptions and observations of the landscape at this time?
So I collecting CDs was a massive part of my life. I used to buy most of my, and I lived in a town where you couldn't buy CDs. So I don't know, do you remember that you used to get these brochures? They used to come in the mail and you could order, you pay for one CD and your first month you get 3. But then you had to commit to buying one CD every month.
Oh, no,
they posted to you. And I still remember my first one I got was Stone Temple Pilots, Plush, that album. It was very much grungy at that time. It was Pearl Jam Versus. And then I got Violator of Depeche Mode. Obviously, out of nowhere, I discovered that and I loved that. And obviously, the selection was quite limited for rock on this thing. But It is a good way to get CDs for really cheap. But you got one a month. And all my pocket money went to CDs. So on the weekends, I'd go to East London and I'd stand outside the CD shop. And there was Musicas, but I didn't used to go to Musicas. East London had a CD shop that there was only one in East London and PE, nowhere else. How can I not remember the name? While we're talking, it will come back to me. But that was my best. You remember like the booths like they had at like CD Warehouse or Look and Listen. You just go listen and skip through. And like you didn't, I still collect top 40s magazines.
Yes. Do you still get them?
You don't get them, but I go find them in pawn shops and stuff. I've got a nice collection that I've managed to score over the last little while. So it was top 40s magazines for me. It was listening there. Yeah. We didn't have the internet. It was crazy. I feel like with the way music has gone digitally, I'll get to the great parts of it because I think there's amazing parts of it. I feel like you'll never get to know a song as well as you did when you bought the CD.
Yeah.
Especially as a teenager because you're using your pocket money to buy. So if you're lucky, you may be getting 2. Later, I discovered the pawn shops, obviously when you could get more. But you're getting 1 to 2 CDs a month and you played them back to front.
Yeah, exactly.
Those albums that I bought in high school are the only albums I know all the lyrics to. Anything beyond that, there's one that I do, but everything I owned then, I knew everything. So it is amazing. You're more attached to the music you bought.
Experience, the journey of it.
Yeah, you felt like you really were part of this thing. Where streaming is easy come, easy go. Listen to this, listen to that. It's not costing you anything really. Well, besides for your subscription. But that, on the other hand, I think is amazing because I can't imagine how much fun I would have had with Spotify as a kid. like hearing about, this band Fish. I remember Fish. Some people telling me about Fish. And I couldn't find a Fish CD. As a hip-hop fan in the Eastern Cape, you know how hard it was to find really good hip-hop albums. So I'm like, what a dream. You can discover anything, you know. So digitally, I guess that piece of owning a piece of music is gone. But you look at indie bands. When we were young, you had to sign with a record label. You couldn't afford to record. You couldn't afford to market the album. Indie was a very different thing then to what it is now. It was still, you were looking at 360 label deals. It was the only way we could do it. Now, you can look at Will Lindley. He made a TikTok at university in Stellenbosch, which got picked up by... I don't even know if he played a gig. Maybe he did. I love Will Lindley, by the way. But I don't even know if he played a gig or not. He got picked up via TikTok. I think that's amazing.
Yeah.
I think it's amazing that artists can do that. Artists can, if they are clever, they can make content that makes them stand out on TikTok or on Instagram. And they can upload music on DIY sites like CD Baby and put music up. And people all around the world can hear it. It's amazing. If people ask me, would I choose the era I grew up in, selling CDs, to today? Not a chance.
Okay.
No ways. No ways. I think for musicians it is so much better. The digital age. And like you said, like even the physical is picked up so much. People are buying CDs again. People are buying records like crazy.
Yeah.
You can still have that. So I still buy a lot of records. I don't buy CDs. I must be honest. I probably will never buy a CD again. But I do buy records.
Okay. And
that for me is when there's an album that really hits home. And I want that feeling, Like the other day I bought the Fugees' The Score, which is my all-time favorite album. And I was like, I can't not have this.
And you had never had it before?
Not on vinyl. I had it on CD, yeah. So I still do that, but I can't imagine. Like, I listen to Spotify way more than I watch Netflix. I'm very slow. Like, I just found out about White Lotus and loved it, but I never know what to watch on TV because I'm always listening to music. Yeah.
It's interesting. And now, what are you doing at Virgin at the moment?
So Virgin, I started there as a consultant for Electromode.
Yes.
And I moved into an A&R position full time, which eventually became In Grooves. Universal Music bought Electromode and became part of In Grooves, which was their independent distribution leg. And In Grooves and Virgin Music became the same company. So I was A&R for Virgin Music for quite a time. I still do a lot of A&R. I'm an account manager, but have evolved into business development. So I look after Southern Africa, and now East Africa has actually been added as well. So it's amazing. I'm looking for new labels to work with, new labels to invest in, new artists to sign. It's
okay. So when you say smaller labels, music labels, is that what you mean by labels to invest in?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So obviously, labels need. So Virgin isn't we don't do the old school 360 deals. It's not locally, at least. That's not our model. Is we are a distribution partner to other labels, and we do some direct deals with artists where we'll sign an artist, but the model is more for record labels, looking for a distribution partner that can take them further, invest in them, So my job is going around and looking for people that are doing good things and getting numbers and starting a fire and going, this is someone we need to work with, So it's a great gig.
You obviously travel a lot.
I travel a lot. Yeah.
And the new band that you're with, Dead Man Bones.
Black Man Bones.
Black Man Bones.
Black Cat Bones.
Black Cat Bones. Don't know why the other one came. I've got a new band name now for any listeners. Black Cat Bones. So how did that come to be? How long have you been doing that for?
So, like I said, Gareth, the drummer.
Gareth Squared, yes.
Yeah. He grew up 2 houses down the road from me in Maltino. I met the Black Cat Bones on one of my first ever trips to Joburg with Southern Gypsy Queen. They were called Taxi at the time, just Andre and Quibus as a singer. And we played at a venue in Pretoria called Nile Crocodile. And then we bumped into each other from gigs to gigs. Became really good friends. Andre was the best man at one of my weddings. And we've been tight throughout. Chris, who plays bass with us, his brother produced Southern Gypsy Queen's first proper album and signed us. Our first label deal was with Volma Records, which was his. So I've known Chris since he was little. And into 2023, their singer Quibus unfortunately passed away.
Ah, okay.
And they originally approached me to stand in for a couple of gigs. So they're like, we're not going to end this thing. We don't know what to do, but we've got some gigs. And I know you know the songs. Southern Gypsy Queen and Black Cat Bones toured together. Like, Southern Gypsy Queen, Black Cat Bones, and Shadow Club were the three bands that... those are the bands we played with the most. And always want to. So I knew the songs and knew the guys, and it didn't feel like an outsider coming in. So did a couple of shows, almost chickened out. Driving to the first rehearsal, I was like, I can't do this.
Why?
Look, because Quibus is a great friend of mine.
Oh, okay.
I think he was the greatest rock frontman South Africa's ever had. It was like, I just didn't know if I had it in me. Okay. And my girlfriend, I was on the phone, I was like, I think I'm going to turn around, I can't do this. And she was like, just go try, see how you like it. And did the rehearsal, and it felt really nice to play music again. That is my first thing. I was like, wow, I'm in a room, in a garage, we're in someone's garage, like how I started playing music with like 3 of my best mates and going, shit, this is so nice. Okay, let me give this a bash. Played a couple shows. First 1 or 2 was strange to get back into it. I was like gone from being off stage for so many years. Took me a little while to get back into it. And then it hit. And then it started feeling a little bit more normal. But I was just singing his songs. Yeah. And also realized he was the kind of singer that couldn't be replaced. So it is going to be a new version of Black Cat Bones. It is going to be the way I sing, you know. It was, I wasn't going to try and be him.
You
I couldn't.
Could never. Exactly.
Yeah. So it was interesting. And then we started writing songs together for the band. So we've released 2 singles since I've been in.
Okay.
We've got a whole album coming soon. It's, it doesn't feel like work. So Southern Gypsy Queen got to a point at the end where, 12 years on the road, and I'd say for the last 6 or 7 years, like I said, it was over 200 shows a year. There was a time when it felt like work. Yeah. I won't lie. It wasn't that I didn't love playing music, but this doesn't feel like that. This was like, wow, this is actually the best part of my week.
Okay.
Whenever I play a gig, this is, and it's made me feel like, I feel like it's made me so much better at my jobs in the music industry. It has kind of sparked a passion for music again.
Yeah.
And so like working with my artists at Virgin, or like I have another company called Brand New Artist Solutions, which looks after festival bookings, and we manage some artists. And it is just like, it felt like, wow, sparked something in me again. And now I can't imagine my life without it.
It. Busy, traveling, all this kind of stuff. Amazing. So you said, do you know when the album's coming out, or is this still being finalized?
So I'll tell you what the plan is because it's obviously still quite a new thing, is we released a song called Hail Mary at 99 in December, and we've just released a song which was actually a song called Something That You Said, which is a tribute to Quibus. I wrote this song maybe 2 or 3 weeks after he died, and I didn't know what to do with it. And I sat with it, and I wasn't ready to play it, and I wasn't. And one night I went and I played it to Andre, and I said, listen, just record. Andre's our lead guitarist. Record this just so we have it in the background so we don't forget, Okay. So just recorded it on an acoustic, very rough demo version. And eventually, as we started working through songs, by this point now I think we must have about 15 or 16 demos that we're working on. And we started seeing that the sound is taking a different shape, And so the current plan was, the first one was a very specific kind of Motown-y rock sound. This one sounds, I guess, a little more to what I was doing with Southern Gypsy Queen. It's, I guess, slightly more melodic or commercial than what Black Hat Bones traditionally is. And so we were like, let's put out a few singles and find our sound.
Okay.
So we've got enough songs for an album, but I think we're finding... Chris, our old bassist, came back. He was out for a little while. He was in a metal band called Volvadinia that is touring the world. And we had a great bass player, Casey, in his place while he was gone. But Chris is back after like 5 years or 4 years or whatever. So it's also like, it's an old band, but a new band.
Yeah.
And so for us, like, we want to put out an album, but we're like, let's do maybe a single every 2 or 3 months.
Yeah.
Feel it out. I reckon by early next year we'll have an album out. Yeah.
Lovely. So all these interesting elements, so Gareth, the podcast is listened to throughout the world. As a final message, what would you like to say?
Go and discover new music. I think the reason I loved Oppikoppi so much was because it helped me put new bands in front of people. I'm passionate about African music. I started as South African music. Now, I'm working across the continent. We've got such amazing music coming from here. And the rest of the world is waking up and listening to music. And, piano was all over the world at the moment now. Like, you've got Le Compo and 3-Step. And people all over the world are obsessed with South Africa. Obviously, Afro beats from Nigeria, Gengeton, all of these amazing genres that are coming out. And so many people in South Africa often don't even know these songs or these artists exist, and I'm like, try something new, man. But also, music is meant to be fun. If you just want to listen to classics all day, fuck it. Listen to classics all day. Music's supposed to, I hate people that say, someone will be like, oh, that guy listens to Kurt Darren. I'm like, so what? Kurt Darren makes him happy.
Yeah.
Rage Against the Machine makes me happy.
Exactly.
Like, who cares? That's what music's there for,
Exactly. So guys, as Gareth said, support music, find something new if you want, or stay with who you love. This is Celeb Savant signing out.
Another production from Solid Gold Podcasts.